Hey y'all, and welcome back to Flick Connection, where in less time than you normally spend scrolling for something to watch every night, I'm going to tell you about all of the best stuff Netflix is adding in February 2024. Now, I've been doing this every month on YouTube for a long time, and Netflix is doing something I've never seen them do before. Instead of adding a bunch of stuff on the 1st like they normally do, they're only adding a handful on February 1st and then spreading everything else out through the month. And there's a lot of stuff. I've got a long list here. At the end of the video, I'll also tell you about everything leaving in February, so you can be sure to catch those titles before they're gone. Thanks to Bright Sellers for sponsoring this video. I'll tell you more about them later, but for now, let's talk about the stuff they are adding on February 1st, which includes some really underrated gems, movies like Shot Caller. In this movie, Nicola Coster-Waldau, or Jamie Lannister to most of you, is kind of a regular guy who gets thrown into prison and becomes an absolute animal. This is actually a pretty epic story. It covers quite a long period of time, and there's a bunch of great actors in this. I mean, he's great as the lead, but you've also got Jon Bernthal and a bunch of other really great TV actors that are just doing dynamite work in what is an excellent, if not brutal, prison movie. Another brutal movie that I think is just insanely underrated is American Assassin. This stars Michael Keaton and Dylan O'Brien. Dylan O'Brien is fantastic in this movie. I'm honestly surprised he's not a bigger star. This movie's got some hard-hitting action, and it has a hard R rating, which I don't feel like you really get with movies in this genre, or at least not anymore. This one was a total surprise of a movie. It does go to some far-fetched places, but it's always entertaining. I also feel like Fury is pretty underrated. They're going to be adding that on the 1st as well. This is a highly rewatchable war movie. Not only do I love almost everything Brad Pitt does, but this movie is actually action-packed. The characters are all really fleshed out. There's some fantastic scenes that don't revolve around action, and for a World War II movie, it's kind of surprising how much this focuses on this small group of guys and how well it works. This is one I've watched a few times over the past several years, and I've always enjoyed it. I could say the same thing about Pacific Rim, a very different movie. This is just a popcorn movie with monsters destroying cities. There's a lot of those being made now, but I consider this one to be exceptional, not just because it was directed by Guillermo del Toro, but the fight sequences are, yes, they're animated and it's just big monsters and robots destroying buildings, but it's thoroughly entertaining. The fight sequences go on for a very long time, and Del Toro, he knows how to make things entertaining. They did do a sequel that wasn't half as good as the original, the first just being, again, a really fun science fiction action movie. They're also adding The Great Gatsby, the 2013 version with DiCaprio, if you got kind of an itch to watch more DiCaprio movies after Killers of the Flower Moon. And they're also adding X, the porno-themed slasher flick that actually stars Mia Goth and Jenna Ortega. This movie was much raunchier than I expected it to be, and I was expecting some raunch. It's also kind of a classic style slasher flick. There's nothing too inventive with it, but it's solid slasher stuff, so if you like that genre, X is exceptional. Now, with it being February, they are adding a bunch of romantic movies that all sort of has a Hallmark Channel kind of feel, though. With the exception of The Vow starring Channing Tatum, they're adding that on the 1st. Quality-wise, it'll probably be one of the better romantic movies added this month. But if that's not enough Channing Tatum for you, they're also going to be adding Magic Mike's Last Dance, which is not a very good movie at all. I actually liked the first Magic Mike. I thought it had some really great characters in it. It was very well directed by Steven Soderbergh. The sequel's kind of a fun movie, but not very good. And then this third one's just kind of a flop, which is disappointing because I love Salma Hayek as well. They're also going to be adding the animated / live action version of Tom and Jerry, which I don't really recommend for adults, but it's a solid kids movie coming on the 1st. And then they're also going to be adding The Tourist, which was a show on HBO Max, or I guess rather you could still watch it on HBO Max. This stars Jamie Dornan as a man who wakes up in the Australian outback with no memory and kind of has to piece things back together. They will be adding season 2 later in February. It's also worth mentioning that every week in February, they're going to be coming out with Inside the NFL. That show will premiere on Wednesdays. And One Piece, not the live action adaptation, but the original anime show, has a new season getting added weekly on Saturdays in February. Now, on February 2nd, they're adding an awesome looking animated movie for the family. It's titled Orion and the Dark. This looks like a Pixar-level movie, and the Dark in this movie is actually a character that's trying to help this young boy overcome his fears, and the Dark is actually voiced by Paul Walter Hauser. And honestly, this looks like one of the most interesting sort of kid-friendly animated movies I've seen Netflix add in a really long time. And then on February 3rd, they're going to be adding Ready Player One, which is an incredible movie. I know, I wasn't a big fan of it. It didn't really quite feel like Steven Spielberg quality stuff to me. It feels much more like kind of a Disney Marvel-esque movie, but a little bit better and still pretty awesome with all the pop culture references in it. All that stuff didn't really make for a great story, but it does make for one of the more visually striking movies you're going to catch on Netflix this month, for sure. On the 7th, they're adding a Liam Neeson comedy titled Made in Italy. He and his estranged son are repairing an old house in Italy. This only has my interest because I can't remember the last time Liam Neeson did a comedy. I guess A Million Ways to Die in the West, maybe? And I don't even know if I want to count that one, to be honest. On the 9th, they're adding sort of a crime thriller series from South Korea titled A Killer Paradox. The synopsis sounds like someone either accidentally commits murder or manslaughter, whatever they call it in South Korea, and ends up in a cat and mouse chase with a detective. Also on the 9th, they're adding Lover, Stalker, Killer, which is going to be a docu-series about stalkers. Netflix always does a great job with those. Odds are this is going to involve multiple stories over the course of a series. So if you love the true crime stuff, this is one of my top picks for the month. On the 10th, they're adding Horrible Bosses 2, a really funny movie. I don't think it's as good as the first. It feels a little bit rushed, but still funny if you love anyone involved, and particularly if you still have a crush on Jennifer Aniston. These movies are a must-watch. The 11th, they're adding the final season of The Blacklist, so if you didn't catch that on network TV, here's your chance on Netflix. On the 14th, Valentine's Day, they're going to be adding the 6th season of Love is Blind. I did watch season 1 and loved it. It was wild stuff. I've long since lost interest, but if you're still into it, there'll be something a little bit trashy to watch on Valentine's Day. February 15th adds a movie that I originally missed, so I'll be looking forward to The Catcher Was a Spy. Paul Rudd plays a former Major League Baseball player, Mo Berg, who actually went undercover in World War II and was a spy for the US government. Again, I haven't seen this one, but it's got decent reviews and sounds like my type of thing. The 16th adds another HBO Max series in its entirety, Warrior. Now this is a totally badass martial arts series, and it starts off with a bang. Episode 1 is killer. If you're not into it by then, maybe you're not into the show. It was discontinued. It won't be returning for any more seasons, but you can catch them all on Netflix right now, and if you're the least bit interested in this genre, Warrior is a dynamite show. The 19th adds a documentary titled Einstein and the Bomb. This is actually going to mix in archival footage and some scripted stuff. There's an actor sort of playing Einstein. This will be a great thing to watch on the heels of Oppenheimer. And then on the 22nd, they're doing something pretty incredible. They're adding Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a new live-action series based on the Nickelodeon animated series, but some of you may remember M. Night Shyamalan famously directed a movie based on that is considered one of the worst movies ever made. I have seen it, and it is just a real kind of gem of a mess of a movie. The show, though, looks like it's going to be fantastic for kids in particular, but maybe even people who grew up watching the original series could get a kick out of it too. The 23rd adds a wild one, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Odds are most people interested have seen it by now, but if you have not, let me just warn you, this is a wild movie. Yes, it did win for Best Picture, and I'm honestly surprised that it did because, it's not only confusing, but just bonkers from beginning to end. But I think part of the reason people love this movie so much is that even though it is just insanity from beginning to end, there's a really heartfelt story told there as well, and it's told very effectively. This can be pretty exhausting. It's over 2 hours, and it's kind of relentless in its intensity, so plan to watch it when you've got some time to really pay attention. I will say though, if you're turned off by weird stuff, this is not going to be the movie for you.
Clap your hands. She appears to be in a universe where everyone has hot dogs instead of fingers.
Also on the 23rd though, they're adding a new Tyler Perry directed thriller titled Mea Culpa. This is about an artist that seduces his lawyer, played by Kelly Rowland, who she just looks incredible. She looks as good as she did back in Destiny's Child. I'll even say, I always thought she was prettier than Beyonce. I know that's blasphemy to some of you, but if you've been a fan of any of Tyler Perry's stuff, this is going to be a must-watch. And then I'm surprised to see on the 24th, they're actually going to be live streaming the SAG Awards. Not that I'm going to be watching it, but another sign that network television is kind of in its final days. On the same day, another watch with the family is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This one is a cute, kind of sweet movie. It's very cute at the beginning. I will say though, if you're not into it in the first 5-10 minutes, the rest of the movie kind of carries on in the same manner.
He has got to go. Not that I don't like Arthur. No, oh my God, no.
Arthur. The 26th, they're adding another older series, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, seasons 1 through 4. A very, very funny show. I remember watching the first couple of seasons. If you just need a few laughs, particularly late at night, this will be a great one to put on. And then on the 28th, I did not know this was coming out this month, but they're adding Code 8 Part 2. I have recommended Code 8. It is a fantastic sci-fi movie that was actually produced in Canada for fairly low money. It looks like a big budget movie and they didn't spend but maybe $1 million on it. The sequel looks absolutely sick. I hope it's close to as good as the original, but I highly recommend going and checking out Code 8. It's kind of like X-Men, but feels a little bit more grounded and realistic. It's cool stuff. I don't want to spoil much. If you haven't seen it, go check out the first one before the sequel releases on the 28th. On the same day, they're adding another crime docu-series titled American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders, and this looks like kind of high-reaching stuff that potentially changed and shaped the way our government works. So I'm going to be dipping my toe into that one as well because I've never heard of the Octopus Murders. And then finally on the 29th, yes, there is a February 29th this year, they're going to be adding the second season of The Tourist. So if you enjoy the first, you get to binge the second almost immediately. But here is everything leaving Netflix in the month of February. If you're new to the channel, welcome, but the date listed is the date it is gone, which means you can't watch it on that date. You need to watch it prior. I've highlighted some in bold here, titles I've strongly recommended in recent videos, which is a good time to mention that I do release videos similar to this, telling you about all the best stuff to stream once or twice a week, every week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click the button. Click the bell if you want notifications, and if you think you got some good recommendations out of this video, why not give me a like? It does help the algorithm and it helps more people find this channel. Thanks to Bright Sellers for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to go check out their link in the description to get that killer discount, but I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this special Netflix episode, and you will see me on the next one.